Wheel of randomness, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the 15 minutes that we shall learn. Welcome to Randomly 15 Minutes, where we give you a topic in 15 minutes or less, or your podcast is free. I'm your writer, Sam Rossi, and shortly Megan Claude Nicky will be reading a script written by me on a topic she may or may not know about. This shall be fun.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another Wheel of Randomness. Spin, spin, spin. And let's see, what did Sam spin on our imaginary spinner? We are doing radio. So we had radio before, and now we're doing it again. So let's see what Sam cooked up for me this time. So we are going to learn about the history of commercial radio in the U.S. Thank you, the FCC, for the timeline used. All right. On November 2nd, which is Sam's birthday. Got it. Not November 2nd, 1920, not her actual birth date. We'll include that in there. But on November 2nd, 1920, under the call sign KDKA, Pittsburgh's Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company transmitted the first scheduled broadcast on November 2nd, 1920. KDKA's Leo Rosenberg announced live returns of the presidential election between Warren G. Harding and James Cox. Westinghouse obtained the first U.S. commercial broadcasting station license just 1 month prior, in October of 1920, from the Department of Commerce's Bureau of Navigation. August 5th, 1921, KDKA broadcast its first professional baseball game. Harold Arlen announced a play-by-play of the Pirates' victory over the Phillies. Pirates won 8-5. October 8th, 1921, KDKA broadcast the first live football game between West Virginia University and the University of Pittsburgh. Couldn't find the score. March 4th, 1925, the first presidential inauguration was broadcast by more than 20 radio stations when President Calvin Coolidge was sworn in. November 28th, 1925, which is a day before Sam's brother's birthday. Again, he's not November 29th, 1925, but another year. Barn Dance aired, and this is November 28th, 1925. Barn Dance aired on WSMAM Nashville, hosted by George D. Hay. Shortly after, Barn Dance became Grand Ole Opry, the longest-running radio broadcast in U.S. history. I didn't even know that was a radio broadcast, the Grand Ole Opry.
It still is.
Well, I learned something new. I just thought of it.
Would you like a hint for, you want to know a hint for
Sure.
a future episode? We talk about it.
Well, how about that? I honestly thought it was just an actual, music hall. So...
Yeah, I learned a lot by doing that episode.
Okay, all right. So we won't have any spoilers. We'll have to wait for that. February 23rd, 1927, the Radio Act of 1927 creates the Federal Radio Commission to oversee radio broadcasting, replacing the Department of Commerce in that role. The FRC is itself replaced by the Federal Communications Commission in 1934. In 1930, Galvin Manufacturing Corporation manufactured the first in-car radios. Pretty cool. 1933, Edwin H. Armstrong invented FM radio to reduce static and interference. March 12, 1933, it was a year before my grandma was born, exactly the day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed the nation in the first of many evening fireside chats from 1933 through 1945. June 19, 1934, the Federal Communications Commission was established, replacing the Federal Radio Commission. November 29th, 1934. That's your brother's birthday.
There we go.
The first broadcast of a professional football game between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions aired on Thanksgiving Day. August 18th, 1937, the Federal Communications Commission issued its first AM construction permit. 1938, Mel Allen announced the first World Series broadcast on CBS radio. He then became the announcer for the Washington Senators' 1939 season, and War of the Worlds aired and caused mass panic when many radio listeners believed it was real. To which, shout out to Retrostatic Radio that did War of the Worlds.
It was a really good episode.
It was. It was very depressing to read as a script, but it was a good one. So if anyone wants to check it out, Retrostatic Radio, November 2020 was our episode. February 24th, 1941, I just lost my place. Columbia University Radio Club began airing the first scheduled FM radio broadcasts. December 7th, 1941, KTU in Honolulu, Hawaii, broadcast several hours of live updates during the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. May 8th, 1945, President Harry Truman announced Germany's unconditional surrender, known as Victory in Europe Day, marking the end of World War II in Europe. 1954, Regency debuted the first portable pocket transistor radio powered by battery. April 20th, 1961, the Commission authorized a standard FM stereo broadcasting method. June 1st, 1961, WGFM in Schenectady, New York, was the first station to broadcast in stereo. Hey, that's pretty cool, since I'm right next door to Schenectady.
Yep.
July 10th, 1962, the first Telstar satellite was launched into space. August 28th, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington was broadcast by hundreds of radio stations. November 7th.
I used to be able to recite that word for word.
Really?
As a kid, I could recite it word for word. We had a there was something you learned every day for Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
We didn't, actually.
Must be a Southern thing because we did it in the South.
Interesting. Yeah, because, I'll be honest, the only time I ever watched his full speech was my one communication class in college. I think it was our rhetoric communication, and that was the first and only time I actually saw his speech. I obviously like YouTube and stuff, you could look it up, but yeah, honestly, that was like my first time ever hearing it in full and seeing the video for it.
See, that's something we saw a lot in the South.
Interesting. Yeah, I only know, the usual, like, I have a dream, and that's it.
I have a dream that one day our brothers and sisters, our children, something like that. No, I can't remember it.
Yeah. November 7th, 1967, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Public Broadcasting Act, creating the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. This would lead to the creation of PBS and NPR. July 20th, 1969, when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, millions of radio listeners heard Neil Armstrong say, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." February 26, 1970, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting established National Public Radio, or NPR. July 4th, 1970, American Top 40 premiered, hosted by Casey Kasem. April 3rd, 1973, Motorola made the first public wireless telephone call. June 12th, 1978, the first live radio broadcast of the United States House of Representatives regular proceedings was aired. We now look to C-SPAN for that. And there we go. And if you want to fall asleep, go to C-SPAN.
Or get your blood pressure up. It can do both at the same time.
True. September 12th, 2001, XM satellite radio launches. And on July 1st, 2002, Sirius satellite radio launches. And that's the timeline of commercial radio. Next time, we talk about the shows that were made possible by radio. Well, that'll be fun.
Yep.
That'll be a fun one. But, no. Really cool insight to listening about radio and stuff. And actually, for those, I actually went to SUNY Fredonia, which is the State University of Fredonia of New York. And I think they were the only SUNY school that had a radio station. So that's why a lot of people went there for school at the time. This was like 2011, 2014 time. Yeah. And I had friends that were like videographers and they did the radio and stuff like that. So I knew people who worked in like the radio station and that. But it'd be really cool because they probably taught us like, you know, the timelines and such, because I was a public relations major, so I got some communication stuff, but not like the
timelines and the history of
like the radio stuff. So I know I always had a fascination with radio. It's funny because in middle school we had one of those like career days where we actually went to some like event center, and people from like the local area and such, you know, came around. And at the time, I really was interested in being a disc jockey and like working in radio. And I remembered that for those who are local to Utica, New York, it was KISS FM that came. And it was just so fun. I remember that. And I didn't obviously end up in radio. But now it's like, I've seen now from like social media sites and stuff where I'm like, the magic is gone. Like, I didn't know they pre-recorded shows, and it's kind of like the news, you know, where it's like, oh, where's all the people and live? And when you think it's live, it's not actually live. And
no, and nowadays they don't do live shows anymore.
Right.
By the time you graduated after me.
Yeah.
So
I was 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years, but that 6 years time difference changed a lot in radio.
Yeah, no, it did. Because, I mean, I remember people listening to the radio definitely when I was like a teenager and even like in college at the time still. But I feel like within the past 10 years and decade,
the past decade or so.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, people still listen to it, you know. I mean, I still listen to it in the car and stuff like that, but I think with all like the streaming services and YouTube and Spotify and all that, and even like Pandora's not, as far as I'm aware, that was more popular when I was in college.
Yeah, Pandora isn't as popular now as Spotify because Spotify opened up the platform.
Yeah, and I think it also helps too that you can kind of pick and choose, oh, you know, I feel like listening to this song right now instead of waiting for like the radio to maybe play it. Hopefully.
Yeah. And back in the day, if you wanted to hear a song after school, you called up the radio station and said, hey, I want to hear, Bye, Bye, Bye.
Yeah. Which I did that twice one time. I did that twice to request songs. And I think the one time they did play it, and then the other time they didn't end up playing. I can't even remember what I wanted. But
yeah.
I remember calling, and I was like, can I make a request? And because I'm like, I just want to hear my voice in that on there. But yeah, radio definitely is never gonna go. It's just evolving into different ways.
But FM and AM are still the way to go.
Yeah. No, that's true. But cool.
Any final thoughts?
No, I think we're good to Roger out. No.
I'm Sam Rossi.
I'm Megan Klotnicki.
Later, y'all.
Bye.